Shalom, back with part 3. World War III is inevitable. All right, let me read this, and so we can get right back to the, video. All right, with Alistair Crook. All right, and Judge Neil Patano. All right, make bright the arrows. All right, the arrows are talking about the ICBM missiles, people. All right. Gather the shields. The Lord Yahweh have raised up the spirit of the king of the Medes. Again, this is Gog and Magog. This is talking about Russia. For his device. You see that? For his device. Didn't I say, and didn't I already prove to you that, okay, there's no free will? All things obey the will of the Most High. Okay? For it is the device, right, of the Lord, right? His device is against Babylon, talking about America, to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord. You see that? No hugs and kisses, no flowers and candy, okay? All right? It is the vengeance of the Lord Yahweh for the vengeance of his temple, the temple of the Israelites. Okay, it's not talking about a physical building. It's talking about the temple, the Israelites, the church, the congregation, the Negro, Latino, and Native American that make up the 12 tribes of Israel. We are the descendants of Jacob. Do you understand? All right? And not only does the Bible prove that, but circular history as well. All right? Now let's get back to the video.
In a nice symmetry. So yes, I think that escalation is really expected, and I think they are also looking at the Middle East and seeing, that if there is an invasion of Lebanon, which seems really to be gathering steam every day now from Israel, if there is some invasion of Lebanon, then of course it's likely that Israel will extend it to Syria, because the Iranians are there and because the weapons supply routes pass through Syria.
What is the Russian interest there, to back up its new ally, Iran?
No, it's not. Iran doesn't really need backing up. It's got most of the weapons it needs. It doesn't need backing up. What we're talking about is the sense of a more sort of organic look at the whole Middle East. What Russia is doing is seeing that, it's just not feasible to have an attack on Lebanon without this not spreading and affecting, crucially, Syria and Iraq, and who knows what other parts of the world as that takes off. Because I think, Iran has made it very clear that if there is an invasion of Lebanon, then all the elements of the resistance forces will combine. And Hassan Nasrallah has said this is, the Ummah, that is the Muslim community in the biggest sense, everyone who's Muslim. This is a battle for the Ummah on a par with 1948, which is a very strong message saying that this is an existential conflict that is taking place. And Russia is clearly looking at this in the bigger picture sense. It's not there to defend Iran. Hezbollah is well equipped. Syria may need better air defenses unless they've already provided them. But altogether, they're looking at the need to try and maintain, if you like, some sort of strategic control over the region as a whole, so that it doesn't damage the interests of Russia and China and the whole of the BRICS structure, this new sort of military structure that they're forming. And I should just say, for clarity's sake, this is not just a military security structure, because the other aspect of it, of course, is trade and the dollar.
Right.
And these two things are the further. And, and sanctions. Once you talk about de-dollarization, it makes no sense to talk about de-dollarization, which is definitely something they're talking about for Kazan. There's no sense in talking about that without talking about sanctions. Well, the logic of what we're talking about now, about creating the alternative, the alt-NATO, if you like, to NATO, stretching right across to North Korea, and I say Vietnam, and probably others too, as a military structure, is also the logic of this is if you're going to be sanctioned, well, you have the strength with more than half the population and a greater proportion of GDP than the G7 has. Why don't you sanction the West? Why does it always be the West sanctioning you? You should have the ability to sanction the West, particularly in raw materials and key strategic materials and energy.
Right.
That the West cannot survive, cannot produce. It cannot mount a military response to China. If those elements were switched off, I mean, it would change the strategic balance in the entire globe. And so I'm not saying that's on the agenda. I'm just saying by the very logic of things, it's obvious de-dollarization is very much trading system, very much on the agenda. But it seems to me, by its own logic, then you look at the question of managing, because part of this process is to get control of commodities. For too long, commodity prices have been set in the United States and Europe by paper commodities. And the paper commodities which are managed and manipulated by the hedge funds and big banks in America for financial gain. Not just political gain, but sometimes for political gain. We can remember how they crashed the price of the dollar on Iran twice, 87 and on another occasion, in order to try and create civil unrest in Russia. So the Russians are saying, well, we can play this game too. By the way, maybe a higher oil price, maybe rather than a lower oil price, maybe something that will make the Europeans and the Americans understand and pull back from this very aggressive stance that they're taking everywhere, both in support of Israel, in their approach to China, Russia, and Iran.
So my next...
All right, we'll be right back with part 4 to close out. Shalom.